Good day, devs. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to my channel and leave some likes and my comment. This is a follow-up video from my first one. Today I'll be doing it with a voiceover to explain every step that you need to follow as you complete this challenge of the interactive card data. So please do subscribe and leave some likes and some comments. Without wasting your time, let's get on to the challenge. First of all, I've already downloaded the starter pack. Here it is. Now I need to explain a little bit so that you understand what we are doing. On line 6 I've linked up. On line 7 I've linked up to my CSS file. Also on line 8 I've imported a link from Bootstrap. Says on this project I'll be using Bootstrap to complete this project. So if you don't know what is Bootstrap, don't worry. Bootstrap is very easy to learn. You code along me as we complete this challenge. So make sure that you've got the link, or you have the link on line 8. If you want to collect the link direct from my solution, I'll leave it on my front-end mentor profile page, and then you can complete. On line 15, I've also put a link to the font type that we'll be using inside our project. So without wasting time, let's get on to the challenge. First of all, I'm going to create a main class. Okay, I'm going to give it a class which will give it a height of 50 of 100%, like this. That's how you use Bootstrap. You do it in Bootstrap. Now I'm going to create another div that will give us a background image. So to do that, I need to create a div. Remember, we are using Bootstrap, so I can just using class names. I can also style everything. So here I'm going to give a background image using Bootstrap. I'll do it like big G, then image, background image. Then we'll also give it a width of 100 pixels, like this. Then after that, we come into I want to import images. Let's connect our links to images inside the images folder. This one is for the desktop view. Now I want to set a class. Okay, I can do it underneath. With the class name, I want to set it initially to display none. Then I want it to display on medium screens in 9 block, like this. Then let's give it a height of 100% and a maximum width of 100% as well. Now we go on to another new image for mobile view. Now we need to set the source of where we are going to get the mobile view, this one. Now I want to put some CSS properties using class. So for the CSS properties, I'm going to, by default, I'm going to set it to display inline block. On medium screen, I don't want it to display, so I'll say D medium screen display. I don't want it to be displayed in medium screen size screen. Then I'll set the width to 100%. Yes, that's it. Let's take a look at, let me click on go live. There you can see the changes. Now let's continue styling. After that, I'm now going to create a container, a div. Then I'll call it a container. I want to give it a height of 100 pixels. Now I want to create another inner div. I'll give it a class name of row. Remember, inside remember when you are doing Bootstrap, a row has got 12 columns, a maximum of 12 columns, but let me give it a height of 100. I want to align the items on a medium screen to center, so I'll just say align items on a medium screen to center. Then I also want to set align items to start. Let the start from start. Then justify our content. Justify the content to the center. Yes, we are done with that. Now I also want to create another div. This one I'll set the initial columns 8. I want it to occupy the first 8 columns. Then on medium screen I want it to occupy 6 columns. Also on small screens I want the columns to occupy 9. Then align self to the center. Then on medium, margin bottom, I want it to be 5. Then on medium screen, let's set the margin bottom on medium screen to 0. Like this, that's what you've done there. Let's take a look at the progress that we have made. Yes, that's it. Now I want to create another inner div as well. I'll call it cards. But let me set some properties, CSS styling. Let's say display flex. Then flexi direction. I want it to be column. We are done with that. I want to create for the images. From looking at our design, there are some images to the left side, So I want to create another div to wrap up the images on the left side. So for me to do that, I need to create a div. I'll call it front card. Then on the order of appearance, I want it to be second. Then on medium screen, that is the order of second is by default. Then on medium screen, I want it to be order first. Order medium screen, let it be first. Then let's set the position to relative. Then margin bottom, I'll set it to 0. Then the margin bottom for medium screen, I'll set it to 5 pixels. Now when you are done with that, it's now time to import the images inside the div front card. For the front card, now let me import the image. I'll just say images, source inside our folder, image code, then the back. Yeah, card front, this one. Let's have a text that will appear if the images does not load. Okay, let me check if I imported the right one. Yeah, this one, card front. Yes, this one. Then we want the text that will appear if the image does not. So just say front card. This is the text that will appear if the image fails to load. Now I'm going to put in some class CSS styling using Bootstrap. I'll set it to maximum width of 100%. Yes, we are done with that. Now I'm going to create another div for the logo inside. So I just have to say div dot card logo img mg slash card logo. Then I want the text that will appear if it fails to load. So I just have to say card logo. This is text that will appear if the image fails to load. Now let's take a look at the progress that we have made. Yes, there is a progress that we have made there. So let's put in some styling. Using Bootstrap. Remember the image has got some, it needs to be inputted, name and card number and CSV. So that's what I want to do. Let me style it inside. Let's create a paragraph. I'll call it card number. Then I need to import okay, so we need 4 zeros. Then I need to let me style using bootstrap. So I'll just say text and the text to be white, and then as well as let's have another paragraph. This one I'll call it card name. Then change the text. This is the temporal text that we have. Then I've placed. So if it's very important to style the text, I'll make it white. Then we have got the CVC and date. So when the card was issued, so I have to create another class name, and I'll call it date. What's important, I want the text to be white as well. Text white. Now I'll create a span. Let me call it month. Then I need a slash before the year. Then let me create another span. I'll call it year. Okay. Class name year. Then I will set it initials to 0. Now we're done with that. So we are done with our div. Now I'm going to create another div for the back of the, like you can see from the design there are 3 images. This one is for the back of the card. So for me to do that, I'm going to come here and say div, let's create, I'll call it back cards. Let's set the order to first. Then I'll set it to order medium screen. On medium screen I want it to appear secondly. Order of the second on medium screen second. Then position, let's set the position to relative. Now we can come inside. Let's now import the image using img. Inside the images folder, this is the image, and the text, this text will appear if the image fails to load. So I'll just say back card. Now I want to do some styling, so I just have to say use class. I'll set the maximum width to 100%. Before I go there, let me add in some text that I want it to appear inside the div. I'll call it CVC. This is the text that will appear, text white color, and let's add 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Let's have a look at how the design now looks like. There you can see we've got 3. Now let me continue styling. I've done that part. Now I'm going to create a form. As you can see from the challenge, I've got a form to the right side. So this is what we are going to be doing, a form. So for us to do a form, I have to go, yes, there we are. There. Now let's open. Let's start with the div dot. Okay, I want to give it a name. Let me create a. This is the div that will contain the form. So for me to let me start by styling it. By default, I want it to occupy 12 columns. Then on medium screen, I want it to occupy 4 columns. Then the columns on large screens, I want it to occupy 4. Then the columns on small screens, I want it to occupy 12. Then offset on large screens. Okay, let's start with offset on small screens, extra small. I'll set it to 1. Then offset on large screens, I'll set it to 2. Then we are going to set offset again on medium screen to 2. Then offset on extra small screens to 0. Now it's time for us to create a form. I'll call it form. I'll give it a class name of form. On action, just leave a comma there. Okay, let's attempt to reduce the spacing there. Just for my code to look smart, just put in some spacing. Yeah, that will make my code look very smart. Let's start off with a label. Label for card holder name. Just type in the card holder name. Then we need the input text. Like from the design, you can see that there is the input text that is required. So input type text name. Let's give it a name, card holder. Then after that, let's have an ID, card holder name. Then placeholder. This is the placeholder that the text that will appear. .eg Jane list, opposite. We're done with that. This is for the input. Nextly, I'm going to create another label for the card name. Before I do that, let me add an error just in case the wrong details are inputted. So we just get to say card name error. This is the text that will appear when an error is inputted. So let's create another label for card number. Label for the card number. Then we are done with that. We are done with the card number. So I just now need to have an input where we are going to input the values. Input type text. Let's say name, card number. Then we also want the ID, which I'll call card number. Then I also want the placeholder text. This one is the one that I'll call .eg. This is text that will appear 1 2 3 4. Text that will appear 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 2 3. Yeah, this is the text that will appear temporarily. Then maximum length, I have to set a maximum length of 19. Then if an error happens, we just have to display something when an error happens, when the card number is not inputted correctly. So I just have to say card number error. Then I want, by looking at the design, there is this text at the bottom there called expiry date and CVC. So this is text that we want this HTML coding for that. So for me to do that, I'm going to create another div. I'll have to call it display flex. That's the default. Then justify content. Then one space between. Inside, I'm going to have a label. Let's have a label for expiry date. Expiry date again. Then I'm also going to have a label for CVC. we've closed. Now that we have closed this one, this div, let's take a look at how the design now looks like from our. There you can see there's the text, but we also want the input field. So I'm going to have the input field just below the closing div. Let's have a div, okay, in small letters, div. Okay, now for the div, for this input text, I know I'm going to set it the
No
div.
battery, please charge.
Now for the input, I'm going to set it to div flex. By default, I want it to be div flex. Now let's have the input fields. Text. Let's also have the name to month. Let's have an ID of month again. This one is the one that we use on our JavaScript. Then I also want to have a placeholder text. Then maximum length, I'm going to set it to 2. Then after that, I also want the text for the year. So I'm just going to, I can copy this. Then we just outer. Now let's change the name to year. Let's also change the ID to year. Then a placeholder text, maximum length, I'll leave it to 2. Now let's also copy it again. We are going to do it for the CVC entries, input entries. On here, I'll just repeat it. CVC, then ID. I'm also going to use CVC placeholder. I need some text that will appear for the placeholder, e.g. 1, 2, 3. Then the maximum length of the input shall be 3. There you can see. Now let's have a look at how the design now looks like. Oh, there it is. There is the design. Now I want to have an input for in case of errors. Every time that I have an error, every time an error message appears, so I just have to say if we are using Bootstrap, so we can start using our class names. Right, div display flex. Then I'm going to save a paragraph. I want to give it a class name of month error. Then paragraph, let's give it another class name. This is for input. This is in case when there's an error for the input of the year. Error again. Then paragraph dot cvc error. Let me just add another class name. We are done with that. That's our styling for the error message that will appear. But let me have a button. Below I'm going to add a button. Class name, I will have to call it submit. Then type button. btn. Then maximum width, I'm going to set it to 100. Then the text that we want, we just want it to say confirm. Now we are done with this form. We now want to add another. Let's take a look at what's happening inside. There you can see the button is appeared there. Now I want to add a text that will appear every time when I click on the button. This is the text that shall appear when placed on the button. So to do that, I'm going to, every time when you click the button, we want the text to appear. So I'll just say submitted. Container. Dot text center. Now we are going to have an image. I want to add an image for icon complete. When you click there should be an image that shall appear. I'm going to click for the image. I'm going to say margin bottom. I want it to be 4 pixels. Yes. Now let's put in the source inside the img folder. We need this image complete. Okay, this is the text that will appear when the image fails to load. Complete icon. For text by the design, if you look, let's go inside our front-end mentor. Yes, there you can see when you click on the button, it's supposed to show you a header, thank you, and a paragraph with added. If you added your contact details, so I need to add that text. I need to do styling that will include that text. So for us to do that, let's start off by having an h1. H1. Then I have h1. Then I have to call it a class name of title. Margin bottom 4. Then I need a text inside. I'll call it thank you. Then for the paragraph. Then I've got a paragraph. That's one I want to call text. Then let's add some margin at the bottom as well as so. Then we are going, what the text that are going to display is we have added just like as the challenge is required. This is the text that will appear when you click on your button. You've added your card details. Remember to put a full stop, yeah, like this. Now we are going for, let's look at the design. There's a button that appears. Then again, when you click on confirm, another new button will appear with the text continue. So this is the one that I'm going to add. So I have to hit another button. Let's give it a class name of submit. btn. I want it to be of type button. Okay, like that. Let's say HTML text continue. But now inside the class name, I want to add some more class names. Let me add a class name of continue btn. This is a button. Then I have to set the width to 100%. Now we are done with that. Now let's take a look at the design. Oh yes, there it is. So just to make my code look smarter, I'm just going to remove unnecessary spacing. Now that we are done with that, we are now going to style our CSS. We are now going to style the CSS. So let's go inside the file style CSS. Remember, I created a link on line 7 to link up with the style CSS. So there it is. Now let's start styling everything. I'm styling everything before and everything after. Let's set the margin to 0, then padding to 0, box sizing to border box. Now we are going for our CSS styling. For me to do the CSS styling, I have to include some defaults, root defaults that I'm going to set. These are the color codes that are imported from the style guide, as well as the font size that are imported from the style guide. So as you can see, these are the ones that I'll be referring to every time when I'm coding to simplify everything. So make sure that you import this from my source code, which I'm going to upload on GitHub and also on my profile, Frontend Mentor profile. So now let's have a font. Let's have a body. We're going to start the body. Font size. I'm just going to use the global one that we declared. This font size. Then, but this is very important. You have to take note. Then font weight. I'm going to use 500. This is also very important. Font family. You can look inside our style, inside my index file. On line 16, I imported Google Fonts. So this is the font family that we are going to be using. I just have to highlight it here and just click on copy. Okay, before I copy it, I needed to put in some, yeah, like that. Then let's remove the plus, and let's also remove this one. Let's set sans serif. This is also important. Now I'm going to style. Let's set the minimum height to 100%. We're done styling the body. Let's have a look at how the design now looks like. There you can see. Now we're going to style the background image. Let me copy it. Let's set the position to fixed. Let's have from the top we want 0. Then from the left side I want it there to be no spacing. Then Z index, let's set it to -1. We're done with that. Let's also style. Nextly, we're going to style the images, front card and back card. This one. And the back card. I want the width to fit the content. Now I'm going to set the back card alone. I'm going to set some special properties. Let's have a transform. Along the x-axis we're going to translate it by 25%. Let's have a look at how the design now looks like. Okay, this is how it looks like for now. Okay, let's continue styling. You Yes, you can now see how the design now looks like. Now let's continue styling. Now I want to style the card logo. This one, just copy it and place it there. Position, absolute, top 10 pixels, left side, I'm going to have it 20 pixels. Then for the width, let's set it to 100%. Nextly, I want to style, let's take a look at, I want to style the card number, this one. Position, absolute. From the top 50%, let's move it 50% from the top. Then from the left, 5%. Then font size, 34 pixels. Let's take a look at everything else now looking like. There you can see. Now let's style the card name next. Position, absolute. Bottom, 5%. Left side, 5%. Then let's style next. We're going to style the date. This one, the class name that I want. Let's style the date. Position, absolute. Bottom, I want it to be from the bottom side, from the bottom of the page, I want it to be 5%. Then to the right side, I want it to be 5%. We're done with that. Let's start next. We are going to start the CVC. I want to set the width to 40%. Nextly, let's take a look. I'm going to start the pattern there, this one. Just copy it. Okay. Before I go to the BTN, let me. I think I I I did jump. Let us style the labels first. Let us style the labels. Let us style the labels from label text transform. Uppercase. Then letter spacing. I want it to be 5 pixels. Margin bottom 10 pixels. Padding 10 pixels. Border radius 10 pixels. Margin bottom 20 pixels. Border 1 pixel solid. Let's say light grayish violet color. Then we also want to set a transition. I'm styling the form, remember. Transition, let's set it to 200 milliseconds is in. There you can see. There you can see the changes that we have applied. There you can see that it's all taking shape. Now before I go there, let's okay. I want to style the input values that we have. So I'm going to target the month and the year. This one. Remember when you're styling, you get using IDs, you have to use a hash. I also want to target the year. Let's have a width of 30%. And the margin right. Margin to the right side of 20 pixels. Okay, let's take a look at, yeah, I also want to style the input CVC. we use hash when you're styling using IDs. Remember always that even if you can always have the same name can apply for IDs as well as class name. So even if you use the same word, the same title for the ID and the class name, it's fine. But just always remember that you distinguish it when you're starting using the hash or the dot or the full stop sign. So for IDs we use the hash. Now I'm going to style the button. Let's have a background color of very dark grayish violet color. The color of the text, I want it to be, let's use by light grayish violet. Border, let's remove the border. Let's also remove the outline. Border radius of 5 pixels. Then padding to the top and bottom, I want it to be 10 pixels and 0 pixel. Let's take a look at the design. There you see the design, how it now looks like. You can see it's taking shape. Now we are styling, continue to our styling. I'm not going to style for the input placeholder. For the input placeholder, I just want to change the color to dark grayish color like this, and as well as for the input focus, where we are inputting the input, we are collecting the inputs values. I'll say outline. Let's set the outline to none. Okay, then border, image, source. We are going to set in linear gradient, and then for the var characters, like I said, I have set these ones to be our input. I want this one, copy it, just come and place it there. We are using the easier method. Just have to copy it again. Copy. Okay, this one will not. Okay, let's go and copy this one. Then the border width, border width, I want it to be 2 pixels. Border image slice, I want to set it to 1. Then there's also the border radius. Let's set it to 10 pixels. Then after that, we're going to style the title, or just to avoid spelling errors, you just need to copy the class names here, then you replace it. Title, text transform, let's set all the text to uppercase. Then let's have a color. I'm going to use a very dark violet color. Nextly, we are going to style the text. Color. Very dark grayish light. Now I'm going to style the form, but let's collect the style name for the form, the class name for the form. This is the class name for the form that I'm going to style. Display by default flex. Remember, by default, then flex the direction. Column. Let's have a look at how the designer looks like. Yes, there you can see for mobile view. Then I'm going to style on the images, on the text that appears every time when I click through the button. We're going to style it. Display by default, it's set to none. It will only start to display when look, it now disappears. So it will appear when we click on the confirm button. Now we're going to style the I want to style the card name error. This one on line 74, I found it. Just copy it. Card number error. These are the image. This is the text that will appear when there is an error. error. Let's copy this one as well. Then lastly, we're going to collect the CVC error. We want the text, we want to change the color from default to, okay, let me make it red color. It will appear in the red color. CVC error. Let's start it. Okay, this one has been copied. On line 24, I've already started the CVC error. So now I'm going for media queries. Let's save media queries at media. Oh, and inside maximum width of large screens, maximum width of large screens, that is 994 pixels. Okay, let's just copy it. We're going to use quite a number of media queries. So this is 994, then I want here 768 for tablets. Then for smaller screens, smartphones, smaller screens, 415. So that's it. So now let's start styling for large screens. I need to start the card number. Let's set the font size to 24 pixels. Then for tablets, I'm going to style the back card. I'm going to have it to transform. Okay, translate 25 pixels, 25%, 25%. Let's have a z index of -1. So I want my code to look smarter. Yeah, like this. Now, okay. Yeah, z index. What is z index? Now we're going to cell neatly the card number. Let's have a font size of 18 pixels. Then for mobile phones, I'm going to set the card name as well as the date. From the bottom, I want it to be 0%. Now let's type also the CVC. From the top, we want it to be 40%. So that's it. Let's have a look at the design. how it now looks like. This is how the design looks like. We can just inspect it. You can see how it looks like for different views on large screens. This is how it looks like on large screens. Then on small phones, this is how responsive it is. Let me improve. You can see how responsive. Yes, you can see on small screens, that's how mobile responsive it will be like. So we are now going to JavaScript coding. Now that we have reached this stage, devs, I'm now going to do the JavaScript code so that every time when I enter in the details, they'll be captured on this screen, on this front card. So for me to do that, I'm going to first of all link up the JavaScript file inside the folder. This is our JavaScript file. Now for the coding is too long, but what I'm going to do to simplify everything, I'm going to paste the code inside this file, then I'll explain to you what's going on. Okay, then this is the code. Then now let me explain to you what's going on. From line number 1 up to line 17, I'm declaring constable variables, and so that these ones will collect the details using either the class name or the ID number. Also remember that when you are doing a query selector, always put a full stop first, then before you put in the class name for all query selector. Then for the IDs, you don't need any. Okay, like this. Let's put in some spacing. That's all the details that I have captured using const. Now on line 21, I'm now creating a new event listener. This will validate that you have entered your name as well as using only letters from line 21. Now let card name value is a new declared value that we have declared, and it will get the value from using the declared card holder input value that we have declared on line 6. Now if on line 25 we are using that if card name value dot length is identical to 0, it means that you have not entered anything. It will require to it will display for you, please enter your name. Else, if the card name dot inner HTML is one that will be captured as the card name value, then we also declared using on line 30 how the code will only verify that you have entered letters only on line 31. Now if you go on line 34, we are declaring a new constable value which shall capture your card number. It will also be able to verify that you are using only numbers. Like if you look at it on line 35, the late card value number is capturing the card value number input dot value, and on line 38, if the value of the card number value that is captured on line 35 is identical to 0, it will display the text on line 39, please enter your card number. Otherwise, if you check on line 45, card number input that is being captured on line 35 is set to disabled. If there is a it will using the paragraph text on number error, it will display an input of please use only numbers. Then on line 49, we are simply just splitting the card into four numbers. Then if you go on line 55, this is the JavaScript code that you will use to enter the number. As you can see, it is an event listener on line 57 that will that that will collect a number match that is equivalent from 0 to 9. The month, an error message will appear online or using the code on line 63, which is written please enter month when you have inputted the wrong details. Then on line 67, we are now doing the JavaScript code that will capture the year as well as display an error message. Please enter here when there is an error message. If you look on line 79 again, it's a similar code that is to that one on line 67 that will validate that you have entered a CVC number. Then on line 91, this is the most important one, the code that it's an event listener that will happen every time when you click through the button using the constable online, the const declared on line 91 submit btn. So this is the code that we will use, like we did on our when we are styling our CSS. We set the submitted container to display none on line 107, but this time when we're now activating it so that every time when you click on line 107, when you click on the button, it will be displayed. When you click on the button submit, it will be displayed. So on line 107, it's a new event listener that every time when you click it, the submitted container would be displayed to none using code on line 108. And then on line 109, the continue button style width will be displayed to 100% after you have clicked. Then also the form style display will be set to block. So now if you save everything, including the index file, if we save everything like we have saved everything, now let's go inside our coding and let's take a look at it. I'll type my name like in caps. As you can see, my name is being captured correctly. Let's set the card number to 3344446666. As you can see, now let's set the expiry date to month December, year 2022. CVC number, I'll just use 607. Then you see all our details have been captured correctly, and then you click, it resets. So this was it for the challenge, devs. Thank you very much.